Tonight on No Avail.
Today, we're going to try and do exactly that. Understand what a potential, and yes, theoretical, takeover could look like. One that could include tariffs, but also boots on the ground.
I, for one, am ready to eat amends.
Censor.
Liver.
Wait, this is where we are? That, like, the good is bad?
Yeah, that's where we are.
This is where...
Like, the good is bad?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's where we are.
Yeah, it's not about some burst of Canadian pride, not in my case. Canada's awesome. I just wish cultures weren't so daft. But, you know, Canada's awesome comparatively, but it's not some burst of Canadian pride in my case. You know, I just might buy the flag, but not for the collective. No, because I'm egoically annoyed. That a mobster, but ultimately dullard like this, has the might, right? Remember, what's the formula? He's a madman, plus they have the might. It's true. Yeah, but come on, it's a good fit, right? For him. It's a good fit. It's... To sig, try not to sig, Heil. My malady is me. That's right. It's Hitler's malady was Hitler. It's a song that I changed the lyrics for it to say, my malady is me. But you. It's not about Canada versus US. No, it's about me versus you. I don't want it to be true that you can just strut your dick into my territory, place where I live. And, you know, get away with it. I say no. No, mister. You don't touch me there. You stay away, mister. I said no. Manchild says no. You stay away. And so whatever, I'll buy the flags, I'll do whatever it takes, because just egoically, I hate the idea that freaking, you know, mantra-spewing dullard has the might. Right? Think about it. He's a madman. They've got the might. You know, and it's like, it's the place where I live. No Avail 2.0. This time it's personal. You target a place where I live. My malady is me. Yeah, you guys just have issues with control. All you guys can't take no for an answer. In every walk of life, you guys can't take no for an answer. But let's see what else we got going on here. Their need for power and control. Yeah, Nikki, see, Sarah knows that, you know, Nikki was okay being taken for a ride. Yeah, exactly. Every single one of them, what is it? Perverting art. Yeah, perverting art. That's exactly what they do. Oh. Okay. Well, what if the dame is a Nazi and the guy's the anti-fascist? The guy's from Antifa and like the dame's the Nazi. What then, progs? Do you still want to punch Nazis in every case? You know, but then you open the door to female disposability. You know, if females have to face disposability, expendability, because like we punched the Nazi ones of them, then for once, like they'll get it. And you wouldn't want that now, would you, progs? Yeah, I guess that's some reps, kind of. They're saying for his size, it's not good enough. Yeah, always remember. Always remember. Yeah, Rudy. Ya Rudy Poo. Candy ass. Let's see what's on the news today. But first, let's see what's on the news. What was on the news 5 days ago? Where are Canada's friends? Why the silence? It's because Canada's a fair weather friend to the rest of the folks. Canada just wanted to hook up with the States. Even after the States was a known quantity, Canada still said, we can hook up with them again. Look, they ejected a fraudster and elected Biden. We can hook up with the state. We can keep hooking up with the States, but it's like, they just barely ejected fraudster the last time, and then they reelected him. It's like, it should have been clear when the States barely ejected fraudster in 2020, that should have been a clear enough sign that states weren't ready to get serious. So maybe that's why the silence. Canada's just a fair weather friend to, anyone else who's not the States. Like, I bet if the States, ejected fraudster, if there was an impeachment, Canada would be right back and ready to, hook up with the States and start ignoring the rest of them. Because Canada's a slut. Why America might be siding with the bad guys. You got to put it in all caps. I'm not going to pretend to be some long-term viewer of the Bulwark. I mostly started watching, after the election, like a lot of people. But even I remember, the titles weren't this, big tent oriented. The titles are so stupid. Why America might be siding with the bad guys. Yeah, it's you can clearly tell when an outfit becomes a lot more popular and wants to keep it. You can clearly tell why America might be siding with the bad guys. Oh, but I guess, it's necessary to win the war. It's necessary to beat, Krang and company. It's not about Canada versus U.S. No, it's about me versus you.
Oh,
I
that's
don't want
true.
it to be true that you can just strike your dick into...
Whether or not he does, it doesn't matter. You hear what I said? I don't want it to be true that he can. It's that small r Republican philosophy sense of freedom. They think they have objective reasons for it, but it's really a sense. What's the most important thing about freedom? And now I'm discovering, or I guess rediscovering, that small r Republican sense of what, liberty, political liberty, let's say, consists in, and that's in non-domination, right? It doesn't matter if it's a perfectly benevolent dictator who can nonetheless, at some whim, stop being benevolent. During all those times when he was benevolent, were you free? No, you were subject to the whims, even if he was perfectly benevolent for a good long while. But see, it's not even a benevolent one. It's quite the opposite. It's a scoundrel in every sense. So, you're subject to scoundrel, and Canada doesn't pass the non-domination threshold for liberty, according to that small r republicanism. Canada doesn't pass. I think that's why Canadians are so pissed off. It's because each and every single one of them knows, despite how much they love their country on that small r Republican account. Freedom consists in non-domination. It's just always been true. The U.S. could have always annexed us. They chose not to, he's parting ways, but all of the previous ones, they chose not to, but they could have. What was anyone else going to do? Right, about as much as they're trying to do for Ukraine, which, when Daddy U.S. Bucks is not there, when Daddy U.S. Bucks has the opposite aim, annexing Canada, what is Europe going to do? Pick your poison. Keep funding Ukraine or help Canada if, he goes through with it. So I think the reason Canadians are furious is because, and they don't know it as a lucid position, but I speculate, it's the anger stems from not just a few words, it's still the Bannon strategy. It's still flood the zone. He'll keep naming parts of the world. Oh, I really like Eskimos. Can we go where the Eskimos are? He'll keep saying odd things. But the reason it's gotten Canadian ruffles so feathered, Canadian feathers so ruffled, it's because we don't pass the threshold, the non-domination. We have not been dominated, because of the, cooperative thing and mostly the economic mutual benefit thing. That's why Canada's not been dominated by the US. It wasn't because we could strike back. So we need to get to a place where we can strike back. Whatever. I'll do what I have to. I'll go back to work. I'll go back to work in 5 days if I have to. I'll join the force because I'm egoically annoyed that, motherfuckers outmighted the land where I live. These motherfuckers, they've got more might than us, and I don't like it. I don't like it as a man. Go Canada. I don't like that this fucking asshole's got more might in his, palm of his hand than I ever will. Because I think you're inferior. I guess it's not saying much, though.
Ma territory, place where I live.
Yeah.
And get your way, get away with it. I say no.
Yeah.
No, mister.
But I ain't gonna play the role of some damsel in distress. I'm gonna go down fighting if I have to. I'm gonna go, ooh, just give me one good. I can't say things because he's the president. I can't say things. But sometimes like a million pinpricks are worth the one good moment. Let's just put it that way. I'm ready. I'm ready to go down. I'm ready for it to go down. Yeah, if it has to. Eat a man's liver. I'm gonna eat a man's liver. But yeah, I think that's why the Canadians are mad, and I wonder if that's something they know. Do they know that they're upset because they're too puny? They're too puny for the Trog Nation. They're too puny. We should never put ourselves in a position where we're too puny to fight back against Trog Nation. City on a shining hill.
And that did not end well for the Liberal Party. The Progressive Conservatives went on to win a massive majority. The Progressive Conservatives went on to win.
If I were to do a comic strip, if I were to do one of those political comic strips, it would be an American asking a Canadian, what the fuck? What the fuck is a progressive conservative? And then the next line of the strip is just the two of them looking at each other. And that's it. It's just two-stage strip. One is the American asking the Canadian to give him hats, right? So one's wearing an American hat, the other's wearing a Canadian hat. Maybe the Canadian looks like the South Park Canadian. But, he's asking, like, what the fuck is a progressive conservative? And then the one line down, it's just the two of them looking at each other. And then it ends.
Really ready to contest an election.
Yeah.
David just talked about sort of the hypothetical effect in polling.
It's going to get
It's hard
bad.
to know what will happen once it's not a hypothetical, right?
It doesn't matter who's in charge. What matters is the fraudster doesn't touch me there. Man, look at it go.
He feels emboldened. And look, Jonathan, look what happened during the campaign. Look what happened during the period when Joe Biden was president. Trump ran the table, played the courts like a fiddle, and was able to get off scot-free. So why would he not want to try and do this?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my two concerns I have here. The first is that the American people basically want this.
That is the end of the republic. Let's get that straight. That's not hyperbole. That's not comedy. He says he gives the same percent I'd give.
Not all of them. Maybe not even half of them. But
35 to 40. That's what I'd peg it to. So we pegged the same percentages.
35-40% of the American people actually want
that's
some sort of soft despotism.
Yeah, the end of the republic, but like literally. If all the judges are going to be torn between legal malpractice or disobeying Trump and thereby getting fired by Trump, if like that's the decision, then the 35-40% who back it, like that's the end of the republic. But they can't see it.
And that many people, it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
Like even it's hard to stop 35% of the country from getting what it wants over time.
Yeah, that's right. No, and but right before the election, I talked to Timothy Snyder about this, talked to Ann Applebaum about this. And
more discourse amongst the people who are converted and who see clearly. Discourse hasn't been persuasive to anyone but those on the inside.
Is that there is an audience for autocracy.
Yeah.
There is an audience for authoritarianism.
Oh yeah.
There is a temptation on the part of any section of a civilized society
Jordan Peterson called it an adventure. We're about to brace for an adventure. If you saw his immediate post-election sham interview with Piers Morgan, I remember I was like, what a profoundly unserious man. Oh, it's going to be an adventure. Elon and the boys are going to go on an adventure. Yeah, how's that adventure looking? I shudder to even check what he says. I shudder to even check what he probably is rationalizing it.
Maybe experiment with a little fascism. And it is frightening, and it is not a good thing. But that's where I get back to the American way of life. I think there are just too many of us. Folks who are on the center right, folks who are on the center left, people who just,
spots,
maybe they didn't vote
arbitrary spots, purely notional spots on the spectrum, the notional spectrum.
Jeb Bush, maybe they didn't vote for John Kerry, but they kind of think American politics belongs in between those two lines.
Duty.
Right? And they don't want to, who the hell wants to go off in the direction of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and the crackpots on the right? They just don't want to do it. And that is where Trump and his cohorts are right now. They are over there on the crackpot part of the right.
The extension of the Birchers, just the extension of the Birchers. Couldn't be more clear-cut line of extension of the Birchers. Fearing the same stuff too, fluoride in the water, a lot of this overly distrusting narratives about big pharma. It all traces back to the Birchers. What are the Birchers? Bircher or Vatnik was dumber than Bircher somehow.
Driving everybody towards the cliff like Thelma and Louise. And I suspect, sure, they may drive the car off the cliff, but I suspect there are going to be enough Americans between now and then who are going to say, we don't want this. This is not what we signed up for. But who the hell signed up for invading Greenland and taking over the Panama Canal and Canada?
The 11th.
We had that conversation during the campaign.
This is not going to go in the... This is going to go later. Just to see what the hell exactly happened. Whether this is going to seem like too much of a panic, but... maybe if I say this for late February, who knows whether this will be dated or whether it'll be, you sniffed out the danger on time. The end of the Republic. If the legal heavy lifters have conflicting duties because the law says one thing and the madman in the chair says a different thing, and they're fired if they avoid legal malpractice, they're fired then, that's the end of the Republic. If you can keep it. Because 35 to 40% said, okay.
So,
it's a fun reality show because they've never known politics as such.
I saw this when I covered him the first time around. When I was White House correspondent, he always bites off more than he can chew. He always falls flat on his face.
Bernie's interesting.
It's just everything. He was saying, just let Trump go and do that.
Yeah, great entrance. Yes, go ahead. Motorhead. But play Russia on ice to this, the latter third of Russia on ice to this. Way better than Motorhead. But a lot of freaking... I don't know what's going to happen. The Republic shall not stand. Because people wanted a king.
And
now we will talk about peace, not war.
Not without us, says Zelensky.
So I will never accept any decisions between the United States and Russia about Ukraine. Never. And our people, never. And our adults and children and everybody.
But you're dealing with the same crap I'm dealing with. Okay, it's different. But you're dealing with... They've got the might. They've got the might to the east of you. They've got the might to the west, across the pond. You're like me now. You're just reliant on Europe. Except I've accepted it. You still seem to think Yanks will do something for you. It was clear from day one. It was just coconut. Coconut was your last bet. But now we're in the same, we're not in the same jam, but kind of, you should see what I see. You should see that he's a madman, and they've got the might. You probably know it. You just got to be tight-lipped about it. I feel horrible.
So this is the war in Ukraine against us.
No, it's not even levity. I feel horrible. I so wanted them to, what is it? 3 years, that friggin' 3 years of this bullshit. It's just Europe's gonna, fuck it. I'll pay higher taxes if I have to. Yes. So what is the track? Canada as EU slut. Yes, let's join. Let's join and unify. Canada as EU slut.
Although today the US
Secretary... The war in Ukraine against us and it's our human losses.
Although today the US Secretary of State seemed to take a more diplomatic tone.
Little Marco.
Ultimately, it will reach a point when if it's real negotiations, and we're not there yet, but if that were to happen,
So are you saying
Ukraine will have to be involved?
Oh, what?
'Cause they're the one that were invaded.
Are you looking to be taken for a ride on Twitter? That's what he's gonna do. You stepped out of line.
And the Europeans
Never
will have to be
Trumper.
involved.
That's like you're in
because
double trouble. You stepped out of line, and you're an erstwhile never Trumper. You're in double trouble, little Marco.
they have sanctions on Putin and Russia as well.
Yeah, I was really hoping those would do more. Like, there's a lot of articles in like 2022 and 2023. It's just a matter of Russia's going to be economically absolutely defanged. It didn't happen. I don't think anyone ate crow either.
And they've contributed to this effort. We're just not there yet. We really aren't.
Russia mounted the sanctions, and I don't think anyone in the West is all that eager to talk about it. But yeah, Russia mounted all those sanctions. How did they do it? Russia as gas nation, as gas resilient nation.
It's the moment when we need to rearm Ukraine and put maximum pressure on Russia.
It's just so
Ending the Munich conference on
pathetic. It's been known Yanks are wild. It's been known that they've had quarters in Yankville that are wild and that can over time get their way politically. As every country, it's like 35-40%, so like 35-40% of the country's nuts. Eventually they'll get their way, even though they're nuts, if there's that many of them. And they have the will to win. So it's so pathetic, that Europe just rested on its laurels instead of, up in there. And it should have been done. This should have been done in 2008. Europe should have gotten serious in 2008. There was that Georgia war. Europe should have gotten serious, and Canada should have gotten serious too. 2008. Can't trust the Yanks anymore. Yanks were never the same after that financial collapse. That financial collapse of 2008, it was just a major recession. It wasn't a depression, but it was enough. There's just that many people who love their luxury in the U.S. They were scared out of their minds. And a significant enough contingent of them have not been the same since. And Europe should have seen it coming. We shouldn't be at the mercy. We shouldn't be at the mercy of a people's who elect madmen and who don't mass protest when the madman does mad things. We shouldn't be at the mercy of those types of peoples. Just as a non-domination thing. If we're at their mercy for defense reasons, they can dominate us other times. It's embarrassing to have the crazed people be our defenders. Like, come on, just as men, let's not let it happen. I, for my part, will pay higher taxes if need be.
Topic after a mind-boggling opening from the U.S. Vice President.
It would just feel better, if Europe absent U.S., if European NATO absent U.S., there's still a sturdy enough, strong force that's not to be messed with. It may be stronger than the U.S. military. It shouldn't be unimaginable. Let's fucking do it. Let's have NATO minus the U.S., NATO 2.0, America-less NATO. Let's have it be even stronger than NATO 2.0 or 1.0.
On Friday. And for many European heads of government, it's straight to Paris for an emergency summit organized by President Macron. How to secure peace they'll consider.
Poop in their pants, but he was elected on November 5th, and it was no secret what he was. Why couldn't you guys do this on November 6th? Why did it take till now? What did you think he was gonna do? Did you not watch his campaign? What did you think he was gonna do? Not ruffle anything? Not ruffle any feathers? Come on. It's like David Frum said, it's not even isolationism. It's predatory. It's a predation military strategy.
And yesterday, Marco Rubio, who once ran an entire presidential campaign on neoconservatism and the idea of being the new American century with robust American leadership in the world, went to Saudi Arabia,
people
sat
don't
down
understand
with his Russian counterpart.
A lot of people are perplexed by the reasoning of that was before.
And just hammered out the framework of a deal for ending Ukraine's war of aggression, in which they forced Russia to invade them. And after that, Donald Trump literally blamed
Ukraine wore a short skirt.
Ukraine for the
Yeah, so they started it.
Yeah,
for the
of course,
war.
of course.
So
And then this morning, I don't know.
Why
have
is
you seen
anyone
this morning?
surprised? Listen
They
to
started
them.
it for the war.
Yeah, yeah. You know he would have done that. You, of all people, should at least admit that there's nothing surprising of, surprised you didn't do it on day one.
So
What took him so long to start the blame game?
For the war.
He's tweeted disparagingly about the guy. He's fed him to his base. His base just likes it because he's short. Zelensky. They're just gonna. That's pretty much it. That's the reasoning. He's guy's short. Let's make him pay for it. Cut the funds.
So
And then this morning, I don't know if
Man
you seen
was
this
too
morning?
beastly.
Since that, he bleeded.
But also, I bet I also bet a lot of
Zelensky calling him a modestly successful.
Yes.
a lot of similarly heighted men join MAGA. So like if they're on the team that's mocking this, pathetic short guy, whose funds are about to be cut off, and God knows what else. It's like somehow the joke's not on them.
medium.
Just like Joe would make time for you. Joe Rogan would make time for you. Joe is your pal. Joe just can't get around to you all. Yeah, it's more of that bullshit.
Again, you're not going to want to hear this, but this is the fault of people.
explain why I think it's really finished.
The experiment is finished.
And because this isn't really about leadership. It's about the American public.
See,
Right?
no,
This
I knew
is-
you were going to do this.
Hold on. Right?
We
So
should be
how do alliances
pessimists
work? Right? How
about
do
our
treaties
own peoples.
work? They are based upon the belief that the populace in the democratic society will be willing to hold up their end.
Yeah, people have to
And
care.
it's just true that
And they're
the
just
American public
covering.
isn't willing to do that anymore.
Nah, they don't care.
And once that seal is broken, it means that nobody else can make plans for their future security in a way that relies on the willingness of the American people.
So the rest of us will show them they were superfluous all along. And per his theory of America, it was just accidental that they were serviceable for as long as they were. The American people. We'll show them now. We'll all unify and show them they were superfluous all along.
And
But that
so-
was good. That was good.
And it is just true that the American public isn't willing to do that anymore.
Wait, this is where we are, that like the good is bad?
Yeah, that's where we are.
This is where...
One of the things that's happened, of course, is the Trump presidency, because he has brought a much more aggressive role to
This guy was in for like a year.
long ago called a bully pulpit. And we have to consider
Joe Clark.
that's going to continue to be the case. We want to deal with it as well as we can.
I think it's the shortest reign. It's like almost as short as Liz Truss.
Diplomatic basis, nation-to-nation basis. But I really think we want to take a close look at how we do that on a citizen-to-citizen basis.
Yeah, so
and I say that in
so his advice is just Canadians should be nice in relaying our concerns. Just citizen to citizen. We should be nice to the Yanks. So like, yeah, the diplomats have their role, but like we're all little diplomats in our own way. And I'm like, Joe, you ought to see my last segment. You ought to see how this video opens. Joe, you wouldn't be proud of me.
part. Because so far, at least, in an unusually difficult time for us, with a liberal leadership campaign in full
Yeah, I'm not going to be nice to Yanks.
sway, the House of Commons not likely to last its convening, all of these sorts of things. It's a difficult time for us. This is a time where, more than usually, our citizen role, citizen to citizen, with people who share this part of the North American continent with us, is very important.
Yeah, I'm not going to bow and scrape figuratively or be magnanimous. No, they're a bunch of fuck-ups, Joe. They're a bunch of bunglers, just as civic agents. Even the ones who didn't do the apathy thing, or the ones who did vote the right way, clearly they're not persuasive enough. More of the blues should have moved out to the rustic hellholes so you could be persuasive hands-on. But not enough of you did it.
You know, you just kind of leave and you go to like the big cities in Texas, where it's like there's barely anyone to sway there. Like you blues who know how to argue well, to out-argue these trogs out of their stupid Trump voting ways, you ought to move to the rustic hellholes. And you didn't do that. So I even got some truck with you right voting people, you blue voting people.
I think it's, this sounds very simple. But I am writing.
Joe says we ought to be super nice about it.
To friends of mine, people I've known over the years, not so much to criticize the current president as to recall the essence of the Canada-U.S. relationship, which has been by and large a very positive one. I think that we're not likely to persuade him directly. We may well be able to persuade.
Matters of commerce predominate. That's the essence of the Canadian-U.S. thing. Matters of commerce predominate, and yeah, we both like democracy, but we're not going to both like democracy from here on out. It seems apparent.
The citizenry on which he relies. And remember, these are early days in the Trump administration. He obviously calculated a series of efforts that would put everybody off balance. And we're obviously in the process now.
He's just riffing again.
We Canadians, as trying to determine what are the best ways for us forward. I'm not party to those discussions, nor should I be. I'm no longer in office. I'm a former commentator at this, an observer at this stage. But the polling in Canada has indicated that we have a very substantial weapon, call it instrument.
It has to be the episode. Matt and Trey have to let me write a script for them for South Park, where all the Canadian flappity flap heads go run amok. Mob gets it right for once, where they do some unspeakable things to fraudster.
Of our own that citizens can express, as we have been in Canada.
Okay,
but now we have to do it.
We'll try to be constructive. So any Yanks watching me who felt I've not been constructive, okay, as a Canadian, as your fellow North American, let's be constructive together. Why hasn't there been millions and millions of Yanks protesting outside of the White House, right? That's, it seems like he's done enough stuff by now. So there, I asked you politely, why haven't enough of your compatriots gathered, millions and millions and millions just in front of the White House to protest all the crazy shit he's done? Doge, Musk, and minions, diverting funds, freezing funds, Meals on Wheels kind of agencies, innocent, sickly kids across the sea getting caught in the crossfires of it all. Just a lot of bad stuff. Trump is a bad man who does bad things, and it's still early going. It's just the 16th.
Today, we're going to try and do exactly that. Understand what a potential, and yes, theoretical, takeover could look like. One that could include tariffs, but also boots on the ground.
I, for one, am ready to eat a man's liver. As I'll say again over and over, but jokingly, I kid. I don't want to, we're all just going to be cannon fodder. Why? Why do guys support the guy who wants like a bunch of men to be cannon fodder now? It's all so myopic.
Howard Coombs is going to take us through a military thought experiment that I can safely say nobody here wants to see happen. And while Coombs says that the chances are slim, I found that gaming it out like this really sobered me to the challenges that Canada is up against right now. Coombs is the director of the Queen's Centre for International and Defence Policy. He's also a retired member of the Canadian Armed Forces and was deployed as a civilian counterinsurgency advisor in Afghanistan, where, of course, Canadians fought and died alongside our U.S.
So we're actually seeing the things that we saw used in the Middle East over the last 20 years would be used against us. So the precision strikes to start off, paralyzing our ability to govern, communicate, coordinate, and I think you would see special operations used to a significant degree. And I would also highlight right here the United States Special Operation Command, which is combined, coordinates the activities of all special operations forces in the U.S. military, be it Army, Navy, Air Force, etc. Their Special Operations Command is almost as large as the Canadian Force.
It's a guy who lives, breathes, covets all this crap. A specialist. Afghanistan history, all kinds of, previous invasions. Saying take it seriously.
So the Canadian Armed Forces in its entirety is about person for person the size of special ops in the United States. So that kind of gives you an idea of the dimension of the problem for us as Canadians, a military problem. We can really
matters of lopsidedness
pose some resistance if we can organize and communicate and self-prepare. But at the end of the day, we would be overwhelmed.
Come on, play something better. Play something better, CBC. It's already bad enough that you're doing the comment thing.
Can you just flesh out for me some more?
He's gonna flesh out more.
I think
we're gonna be cannon fodder. Why do so many guys like that? We're gonna be cannon fodder for fraudsters' ratings. We're gonna be cannon fodder.
Taking key members of the government hostage, paralyzing.
Yeah, it's slim, but it's preposterous that it's a it's preposterous that this is a segment that's duly required.
And then follow up with a ground attack.
Slim though it may be, it's a segment.
He was moving in Afghanistan in 1979.
He's not alone. It warrants a segment. It's bad enough that it warrants a segment. Why do so many guys like to be cannon fodder? Vote disproportionately to be cannon fodder. Or at least don't regret it when it's even warrants a segment. God, am I in danger of being drone stricken by the Yanks? Am I in danger of being drone stricken by the Yanks?
However, one could also argue that the keeping the peace in Afghanistan became very difficult for them, which resulted in their withdrawal in 1989. Now, it's interesting.
Fair to say, would it be fair for me to say that
Canada as northern Afghanistan,
the Mujahideen who led that,
and we have no effective military response to that. We don't have the capabilities anymore. We have no air defense capability left in Canada. We have almost no tanks left in Canada. We have almost no artillery left in Canada. So a military response to an incursion by U.S. forces is not likely, honestly. And if we could organize and get mobilized quickly enough to put those forces out, they have very limited capabilities as today. So they really couldn't mount an effective resistance. They would be more sacrificial than not, to be quite honest.
Howard, I know there's kind of no.
He's gonna touch me there. He's gonna touch me inappropriately. But I'm just looking to get mine. I'm just looking to eat a man's liver. Try me, Yanks.
Wait, this is where we are, that the good is bad?
Yeah, that's where we are.
This is where...
President will determine how much money multi-billionaires make. They won't have to go through the bureaucracy, which is how stable states do it. You have to apply for permits. There's a Security and Exchange Commission. One of the threats of a second Trump term is that money has taken over the presidency and all of that. Look at Elon Musk. I mean, it's not enough that he's worth $50 billion or so, but he has to determine policy as well.
He has to have his kid put snot on Trump's table, the White House table.
That's what I worry about. It's the effect of money in Congress, in the White House. Ironically, the people who are the most honest and the least wealthy and the most hardworking are the very deep state that everybody attacks. The deep state is actually very good. It's made of clean-cut people earning regular salaries, not from wealthy parents, and often have extremely good judgment on the parts of the world that they're experts on. The deep state has been used to define people who nobody knows who they are, who are really running things behind the scenes. And that's true, because a great power needs a great bureaucracy.
So what needs to change to avoid that fate that you've laid out, that possibility?
When you get a slide,
not vote stupidly. People need to not vote stupidly.
Like this, where you can identify the problems, but you don't know what to do about it. What needs to change is some radical new leadership. It's possible. I'm not discounting it completely.
You need to neg the herd. Just do it. You're this close to doing it. You're this close to doing it. Just neg the herd.
The upheaval under Trump could give him...
he kind of did. He calls, Washington decadent. But I don't think he thinks, the working class's hands are clean.
America a new start. Because remember, if you look at American history, we had the founders who were basically, and their sons, who were the first 6 presidents. Then there was a dramatic change with the 7th president when Andrew Jackson replaced John Quincy Adams. And you got in all these corrupt...
But he said, for... ever since Carter, it's been a bunch of mediocrity in terms of presidential instincts on matters of geopolitical import. Earlier on, he made a good point. I think I agree that as the time went on, latter half of the 20th century, and then certainly he really negged the last few. gutter level political instincts. So, but then he praised the Trumans and stuff like that. Yeah, why can't Yanks find people? I don't care what they call themselves. I don't care what color tie, but just get the man in the chair who's got better presidential instincts.
Characters from the frontier, which was then
Used to be adored by the left.
It's Mump. It's Mump. It's Mump power.
Killed that, huh? I mean, let's. I really did it. Well, I mean, it's like the good is bad. Yeah. Like. Yeah. Yeah.
Headline from NPR. As Trump takes over leadership at Kennedy Center, some protest through dance.
I guess.
And there is then a picture
I
of
guess I was
a
wrong.
number of performers
It's not
dancing
true.
outside of the Kennedy Center on Monday. The dance was part of a protest against new leadership by President Trump. I'm for that. I'm 34
zagging.
dancers performed the Nelkin Line,
Yeah,
a piece by
just-
choreographer Pina Bausch that pays homage to the seasons.
Let's just have
In
like regular Volky protesters, not artsy protesters, and more than 34. But, there's protests across the country. So I have to take back what I said about Americans not protesting. It just needs to be more, and they need to be normie. They need to appear normie and just like a lot more. But okay, it's a start. I don't know why I can't get rid of the glare, but screw it.
With me alone is the evil of the world honestly confessed in its whole magnitude. This is rendered possible by the fact that the answer to the question as to its origin coincides with the answer to the question as to the origin of the world. On the other hand, in all other systems, since they are all optimistic, the question as to the origin of evil is the incurable disease, ever breaking out anew, with which they are affected, and in consequence of which they struggle along with palliatives and quack remedies. 3. That I start from experience and the natural...
And we ought to have learned better by now, but there's still a whole variety of palliatives and quack remedies, isn't there, Schop? Man, look at it go. On the primacy of the will in self-consciousness, part 4 is amazing. The whole thing is amazing. I'm just going to do a bit, because a lot of people talking about fascism, but they're just so unbothered by the anti-intellectualism of it all. The most annoying thing about them is that they are not to be gotten at. Fascists are not to be gotten at with reasons. And this is the best way to sum it up. It's part 4 on the primacy of the will in self-consciousness. It's Schop. I'm just going to do a bit because no one gets it. It's like the last thing they think of is the anti-intellectualism. So it's like if you're going to revitalize worrying about fascism and it's going to be kind of serious enough to the point where even I am, doing serious argumentation as I did in the last video, I said I gave props to James from the UK. What's his name? James something for, saying what he said about Musk. And I'm like, they're giving him props. James O'Keefe? I don't know what it is, but heterodox conflict theory is a way of thinking that examines conflict in a way that's different from mainstream ideas. It's based on the idea that conflict can be a natural part of human interaction and that it's important to promote open inquiry and constructive disagreement. It's like, obviously, the fascies aren't going to get this, but, their, how shall we put it, momentary triumph is also going to make their enemies not want to do any of this. They're going to do everything they can to try to get rid of conflict because the fascies are that bad and they view the anti-fascists as being that bad. So this is still descriptively the case, but it's just no one's going to constructively disagree. It's life or death. The moment a society gets a little too fascy as the U.S. has gotten, we're past reactionary now. We're past reactionary. This loses out. This loses out. Constructive disagreement is losing out. Has lost out in the States. And it's because of the primacy of the will and self-consciousness. So when a nation has one too many people who, instead of thinking it out for once, no, they just give in to the primacy of the will in self-consciousness. But it's like, you can say the fascies started it, like way back when. really just the neo-Confederates, but okay, fine, neo-fascists, whatever, neo-Nazis, whatever, neo-Confederates. People who just couldn't stand that, history was going to talk ill of great-great-grandpappy. That just, no, you can't. I'm going to be a neo-Confederate. My whole politics is going to be premised on affect. Great-grandpappy couldn't have been a bad man. Yeah. If indeed you trace back to the lineage of slavers, yeah. History should not both sides, everything. History should not both sides. The 1850s and 1860s especially, American history should not both sides, the 1850s and 1860s. Slavers were wrong. But, this is, they're not going to get it because they're not going to reach Schop.
Among corpses, adamant is outlawed. Thus, whoever expects from this always numerous band a just estimation of what he has done will find himself very much deceived.
Yeah, and they're at their most jovial when they sense themselves outnumbering the libs. They're at their most jovial in the U.S. Always, what does he say?
And perhaps for a while he said, among corpses, adamant is outlawed. Thus, whoever expects from this always numerous band a just estimation of what he has done,
always numerous rabble,
will find himself very much deceived.
Yeah.
And perhaps for a while he will not be able to understand their behavior.
Yeah, for the longest time, the libs, whatever, progs in the States, party level libs, they thought they had a lot more in common, but there were just a lot more closet cases. Their political counterparts were just a lot more closet cases. I don't mean conservative, posing when you're really a reactionary. No, I mean like reactionaries, but really what's underneath it is fasci.
So at last he finds out that while he applied himself to knowledge, he had to do with the will, thus is precisely in the position described above.
Yeah.
Nay, is really like a man who brings his case before a court, the judges of which have all been bribed. Yet in particular cases he will receive the fullest proof that their will...
What this is I just watched a few minutes of Knowledge Fight, listened to, and they played from the inauguration. So I heard I heard all the applause. The blatant, they're just the blatant. It's a madhouse. It's a madhouse, and so much institutional might now is on board with the madhouse. And I was like promising myself, I'm gonna skip every single line. But then I'm like, let's watch Knowledge Fight. It's their 1000th episode. It's like Knowledge Fight played from the inauguration, and I'm like, oh, no one's gonna put this in a way. It's like, oh, this is victim numero uno. That's the problem. And yes, it's fascism tolerates the madhouse insofar as you prevail along the way. The traditional criteria prevails along the way. It doesn't matter if it's a madhouse. Maybe all the better when you make it a madhouse. They love the mad side of life. Fascists are people who love the mad side of life. And I don't just mean angry.
And not their insight opposed him. When one or other of them...
I always knew fascism sucked, but, fascism in color, ooh,
makes up his mind to pleasure.
Oh, it just brings out the beastly in me. That's why I hate them. I just want to pummel them, but fascists bring out the beastly in me. I shan't be beastly, but then when it was just one too many fascists. Oh, I wonder if white supremacists really do believe that the stench of their own feces is objectively superior than the stench of the feces of others, simply because we're all more comfortable with our own brand. I wonder if if there's overlap where it's actually my feces objectively smell good because I don't recoil in my feces the way I do of the feces of others, and even racializing that. I wonder if there's white supremacists that fucking myopic.
Then he will...
None of you, maybe 1% of you are as smart or as charming as Jared Taylor. Don't think yourselves this based movement. You white supremacists, you end wokeness. You're not part of any based movement. You're fucking King Volk.
See with astonishment what good judges they are, what correct perception of the merit of others they have, and how well they know how to find out the best.
I'm sorry, folks. This was supposed to be Schop centric. Hang on, let me go back a bit. I'm sorry. I just heard a few seconds of that inauguration. It's madhouse self-applauding
when Madhouse applauds itself.
Not be able to understand their behavior. So at last he finds out.
It didn't have to be this way either. You know, if he just realized by 2022 that his approval ratings, I'm talking about Joe. Joe, if your approval ratings were nowhere near 70% by late 2022, you should have given her the springboard. You denied her the springboard. And she's still not trashing you. You ought to be in her debt.
That while he applied himself to knowledge, he had to do with
Because Joe, if I were your VP and you didn't give me the springboard, Joe, I would be trashing you right now. But she's too much of a team player. But you are in her debt.
Will, thus is precisely in the position described above.
Hang on.
Nay, is really, for what he puts it, among courts is adamant is outlawed. Thus, whoever expects from this always numerous band a just estimation of what he has done will find himself very much deceived. And perhaps for a while he will not be able to understand their behavior. Till at last he finds out that while he applied himself to knowledge, he had to do with the will. Thus is precisely in the position described above. Nay, is really like a man who brings his case before a court, the judges of which have all been bribed. Yet in particular cases he will receive the fullest proof that their will and not their insight opposed him, when one or other of them makes up his mind to plagiarism. Then he will see with astonishment what good judges they are, what correct perception of the merit of others they have, and how well they know how to find out the best, like the sparrows, who never miss the ripest cherries.
That's not the sparrows.
The counterpart of the victorious resistance of the will to knowledge.
Schop says never miss the ripest cherries. Marxism missed all kinds of cherries, but especially the ripest cherries. But man, what about that prose from Schop?
Set forth appears, if in expounding our reasons and proofs we have the will of those addressed with us, then all are at once convinced, all arguments are telling, and the matter is at once clear as the day. This is well known to popular speakers. In the one case as in the other, the will shows itself as that which has original power, against which the intellect can do nothing. 8. But now we shall take into consideration the individual qualities, thus excellences and faults of the will and character on the one hand, and of the intellect on the other, in order to make clear, in their relation to each other and their relative worth, the complete difference of the two fundamental faculties.
Yeah, like it's so much harder when you keep this in mind. It's so much harder to do stupid team sports, good guys, bad guys, when you see different combinations of the intellectual and moral virtues, you know, across party lines. At least, you know, I always did, but then Trump came along, and now it's far more one-sided.
History and experience.
Because now the other side's just a madhouse.
That the two appear quite independently of each other.
Yeah.
That the greatest excellence of mind will not easily be found combined with equal excellence of character is sufficiently explained by the extraordinary rarity of both, while their opposites are everywhere the order of the day. Hence we also daily find the latter in union. However, we never infer a good will from a superior mind, nor the latter from the former, nor the opposite from the opposite. But
we ought not. But Yanks do.
Every unprejudiced person accepts them as perfectly distinct qualities.
There are no more unprejudiced persons left.
The presence of which each for itself has to be learned from experience. Great narrowness of mind may coexist with great goodness of heart. And I do not believe Balthasar Gracian was right in saying, in Discreto, page 406, no hay simple que no sea malicioso.
No simpleton.
There is no simpleton who would not be malicious. Yeah. Though he has a Spanish proverb in his favor, nunca la necedad anduvo sin malicia. Stupidity is never without malice. Yet it may be that some stupid persons become malicious for the same reason as many
The Spanish proverb didn't take into account heterodox conflict theory.
Facts. From bitterness on account of the neglect they have suffered from nature, and because they think stupidity is never without malice. Yet it may be that some stupid persons become malicious for the same reason as many hunchbacks, from bitterness on account of the neglect they have suffered from nature.
No, but Schop didn't think about it in today's terms, where the hunchback is actually not really oppressed by anything natural, but is just oppressed by the societal reaction to hunchbacks.
And because they think they can occasionally make up for
it's a hunchback, the anti-hunchback stigma.
Lack in understanding through malicious cunning.
There needs to be hunchback accommodationism, then hunchbacks can live every bit as good lives as non-hunchbacks.
In this, a brief triumph. From this, by the way...
Yeah, it's no wonder, like, fascism's on the rise. Like, there's just too many dreamy folk on the other side.
It is also comprehensible why almost
Y'alls were too dreamy. You libs were too dreamy.
...becomes malicious in the presence of...
Faults are oppressive. Faults are oppressive.
...very superior mind. On the other hand, again, stupid people have very often the reputation of special good-heartedness, which yet so seldom proves to be the case that I could not help wondering how they had gained it.
Yeah,
so I was able to
because Volk self-flatters a lot.
Flatter myself that I had found the key to it in what follows. Moved by a secret inclination, everyone likes best to choose for his more intimate intercourse someone to whom he is a little superior in understanding. For only in this case does he find himself at his ease. Because, according to Hobbes, omnis animi voluptas, omnisque alicritas in eosita est, quod quis habea, quibuscum conferens se, possit magnifique
Man was too beastly.
In De Cive 1:5. For the same reason, everyone avoids him who is superior to himself. Wherefore Lichtenberg quite rightly observes, to certain men, a man of mind is a more odious production than the most pronounced rogue.
Yeah,
and similarly,
that's how to sum up fascism.
Says,
hang on, I want to sum. This is.
Sur et certain men, a man of mind is a more odious production than the most pronounced rogue. And similarly, Helvetius says, les gens médiocres ont instinct sur et prompt pour connaître et fuir les gens.
Fascists will not quote these. Fascists will never quote these things.
And assures us that there is nothing by which a man excites most people more than by displaying a superior ability of brilliancy in conversation. They seem pleased at the time, but their envy makes them curse him in their heart.
Yeah, then they realize that, oh, there's enough of us.
Boswell.
And then they're outspoken about it.
This truth so universal and so...
God, must they be so wretched and ghastly? Could it have something to do with physiognomy? You know, like Schop speculated about the hunchback? Yeah, Schop knew the score, but then it's like, you know, a lot of overlap with their own fan bases as well. Not Rudy. Rudy doesn't have any kind of fan base, but you know, his fan base? Yeah, it's just the sort who would, at their most vulnerable, right? What is it? I didn't even know about this. The viral steroid trend targeting teens. Those are some muscled up teens, let me tell you. You know, but it's just that type of through line, right? But it's like, why be so wretched? Because they know they hate their own physiognomy. And then they redirect the hatred outwards toward the world. Well, mostly him. He's just, I don't know, he's just a sycophant. Excessively loyal. I guess Trump had his back after all, didn't he? I guess Trump had his back after all. Bailed him out ultimately. But yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna watch this video. I just figured, you know, it's one of these video titles to do a segment on, but I'm not gonna watch the damn video. I don't have the time. See, I don't have time for you, Cody. You gotta be pushed back. You were supposed to be in this video, but you know, then the events happened again. Shh, this is the intermission segment, and I'm not gonna play this song, but you know, if you want to get what's after the intermission, this is too risky to play. If you want to get what's after the intermission, you'll go listen to The Fast Life. You know, but it's just too damn risky. But I'm not telling anyone to do anything they don't want to do. I'm just saying, if you want to get the segment fully, you'll have some level of familiarity with that song. But yeah, I just some research is harder than others. Plus, I gotta cut my time.
Wait, this is where we are. That like the good is bad.
Yeah, that's where we are.
This is where
that love becomes a poetical episode, even in the life of the most prosaic man. In which last case, the matter sometimes assumes a comical aspect. That mandate of the will, which objectifies itself in the species, exhibits itself in the consciousness of the lover under the mask of an anticipation of an infinite blessedness, which is to be found for him in the union with his female individual. Now, in the highest grades of love, this chimera becomes so radiant that if it cannot be attained, life itself loses all charm, and now appears so joyless, hollow, and insupportable that the disgust at it even overcomes the fear of death, so that it is then sometimes voluntarily cut short. The will of such a man has been caught in the vortex of the will of the species, or this has obtained such a great predominance over the individual will that if such a man cannot be effective in the first capacity, he disdains to be so in the last. The individual is here too weak a vessel to be capable of enduring the infinite longing of the will of the species concentrated upon a definite object. In this case, therefore, the issue is suicide, sometimes the double suicide of the two lovers. Unless to save life, nature allows madness to intervene, which then covers with its veil the consciousness of that hopeless state. No year passes without proving the reality of what has been expounded by several cases of all these kinds. Not only, however, has the unsatisfied passion of love sometimes a tragic issue, but the satisfied passion also leads oftener to unhappiness than to happiness, for its demands often conflict so much with the personal welfare of him who is concerned that they undermine it, because they are incompatible with his other circumstances and disturb the plan of life built upon them. Nay, not only with external circumstances is love often in contradiction, but even with a lover's own individuality, for it flings itself upon persons who, apart from the sexual relation, would be hateful, contemptible, and even abhorrent to the lover. But so much more powerful is the will of the species than that of the individual, that the lover shuts his eyes to all those qualities which are repellent to him, overlooks all, ignores all, and binds himself forever to the object of his passion. So entirely is he blinded by that illusion, which vanishes as soon as the will of the species is satisfied, and leaves behind a detested companion for life. Only from this can it be explained that we often see very reasonable and excellent men bound to termagants and she-devils, and cannot conceive how they could have made such a choice. On this account, the ancients represented love as blind. Indeed, a lover may even know distinctly and feel bitterly the faults of temperament and character of his bride, which promise him a miserable life, and yet not be frightened away. I ask not, I care not, if guilt's in thy heart. I know that I love thee, whatever thou art. For ultimately he seeks not his own things, but those of a third person who has yet to come into being, although he is involved in the illusion that what he seeks is his own affair. But it is just this not seeking of one's own things, which is everywhere the stamp of greatness, that gives to passionate love
Schop,
also a touch of sublimity, and makes it a worthy subject of poetry.
But
Finally, sexual love is compatible even with the extremist hatred towards its object. Therefore, Plato has compared it to the love of the wolf for the sheep. This case appears when a passionate lover, in spite of all efforts and entreaties, cannot obtain a favorable hearing on any condition.
Okay,
I love her and hate her. Shakespeare.
He's not.
symbolized
He wasn't.
35.
He wasn't
The
Eliot.
hatred of the loved one, which
He
then
wasn't
is kindled,
Eliot.
sometimes goes so far that the lover murders her and then himself.
He just doesn't call
One or two
back,
examples
and
of
he
this
just
generally happen every year. They will be found in the newspapers.
Yes.
Therefore, Goethe's lines are quite correct. By all despised love, by hellish element, would that I knew a worse that I might swear by.
No, but destiny is just
It is
more
really not
aberrant.
hyperbole if a lover describes the coldness of his beloved and the delight of her vanity, which feeds on his sufferings, as cruelty.
Yeah, Schop's
For he is
back
under the influence of an impulse which,
Schop's
akin to
back
the
to
instinct of
Eliot
insects,
now. Schop's
compels
being
him,
an Eliot.
in spite of all grounds of reason, to pursue his end unconditionally.
Dame is
and
too
to
evil
undervalue
about it.
everything
Dame was too evil about it.
Not one but many a Petrarch has there been who was compelled to drag through life the unsatisfied ardor of love, like a fetter, an iron weight at his foot,
with
and breathed his
destiny,
sighs in lonely woods.
it's just the
But only in the one
aberrance.
Petrarch dwelt also the gift of
It's
poetry.
just the aberrance.
So that Goethe's
Destiny
beautiful
wasn't
lines hold
Petrarch.
good of him. And when in misery the man was dumb, a god gave me the power to tell my sorrow.
But those parts
In fact,
apply.
the
Those
genius
parts
of the species
apply.
wages war throughout with the guardian geniuses of individuals.
he is a
Is their
genius.
pursuer and enemy,
He is.
always ready relentlessly to destroy personal happiness in order to carry out its ends.
Not a
Nay,
genius.
the welfare of whole nations has sometimes been sacrificed to its humors.
He's not a genius.
An example of this is given us by Shakespeare in Henry VI, Part 3, Act 3,
Man-child was
3.
genius.
All this depends upon the fact that the species,
Yeah,
as that in which the root of our being lies,
no one
has a
told
closer and earlier right to us than the individual.
No one
Hence,
told
its
him.
affairs take precedence.
I want to
From the
tell
feeling
you.
of this,
I
the
want to
ancients personified
save
the genius of the
you.
species in Cupid, a
wanna-
malevolent, cruel, and therefore ill-reputed god, in spite of his childish appearance. A capricious, despotic demon, but yet lord of gods and men. Zudo theon,
It's not your
tyranne
fault.
kanthropon.
It's not your fault. No one warned you about Cupid. Yeah, it's Wendy. Wendy completes the thumb. But the thumb is too big no matter how tiny Wendy becomes in the thumb. YouTube says the thumb is too big. Right? I make her that tiny. Doesn't matter. YouTube always says it's too big, so it had to be without Wendy. But for fuck's sakes, YouTube, Wendy completes the thumb. Wendy, if you're connecting the dots with the thumb, if you see the, the universal and the particular, you'll know that in terms of the contents of this video, Wendy completes the thumb. But every single time I add anything, but I can't take any of the other stuff out, but I add any of the things, it's like, yeah, it's gonna tell me it's too big. So, it's just too vacant over here. Wendy completes the thumb. Oh well. Wow. Hard work examined is blocked partially because I used a very small window when I was describing the double team thing. I used a very small window within a window to display, without any sound, that double team by Rock and Show against Mick. See, Department of False Hope, no impact. But there was no audio from that Raw. There was just a little blip that I used because I wanted it to, because, it wouldn't have been funny to explain it without actually seeing the double team. So I just showed Rock and Show double teaming Mick. It wasn't like the full screen. It was a small screen. And it was still enough for my video to now be partly blocked. But I guess it's just in the, hang on, it's blocked in India. It's blocked in India. I guess it's almost apropos that it'd be blocked in India because I said some mean things. Yeah, well, it's blocked in Russia. Explicit Not won't be able to see Hard Work Examined. I'm sorry, Explicit Not. Maybe I'll re-upload it without why is it doing that? Maybe I'll re-upload it without that segment. Well, the segment will be in, but I'll take out the thing that I didn't have. What's going on? Why is it doing this? It never does this. It's like the Undertaker's coming out. The lights are going out. But yeah. Fuck this copyright shit. You all assholes need to read Dean Baker on copyright. Fucking Raw from 1999. Raw is from fucking, what is it now? 26 years ago. I didn't play any audio from it. I didn't do the full screen thing. I just showed a bit of the double team. And now all my friends in Afghanistan and Bangladesh and in India and all these other countries. But yeah, I guess my main countries aren't affected, so I don't care. I don't know why this is... I don't know why. Like, where's the gong? What's going on? It's mump. It's mump power. Scheming. It's a song about a man. No, it should be still scheming. It should be a song about a guy who did all he can to be 100% about the integrity every waking moment of his life. And then he's melancholy and he's singing about how he's still scheming. He catches himself, but they called it still dreaming. But this one is awesome. This whole one is awesome. Just listen to this. Listen. Still scheming. Still scheming. Still scheming. It's my guys. It's my guys. Because you know what? That's your lyrics for this one. I changed a few things there, but the most important thing it should be called the trad life. The trad life. There's nothing I can do. Yeah, it should have been called the trad life. I can't play that song because that was from their big record era. I can't play their Atlantic record era. You know, I'll get a copyright strike, but yeah. Think about it. It's just a trad life. There's nothing I can do. Suck it in and follow through. The trad life. Just dealing as I go. You might call it callous, but this trad life is all I've ever known. It's all I've ever known. Or maybe at the end you can change it to the fast life. And then maybe the brass life. The brass life. The brash life. It's just the brash life. Just suck it up, buttercup. I don't quite care for this one as much. I don't quite care for this one as much as the last one. I mean, listen to the beginning of this. Still scheming. If they knew what's good for them. Still scheming song. Listen to that melancholic beginning. He realizes he'll never stop scheming, though he endeavors to. Listen to that.
I was somewhere else, I was dreaming again.
Man.
When I opened my eyes, it all looked the same.
Everybody now.
I'm still scheming. I'm still scheming.
Wait, this is where we are, that like the good is bad?
Yeah, that's where we are.
This is where, and Tim, is it Schadenfreude, or is it that you think that there's something salutary about pain?
I like that modification on the pronunciation, shade, because it's a shading. Schadenfreude. I've always thought it was Schadenfreude.
Believe to heal.
I know. I'm not about healing through pain. No, thank you for.
I think that
this should be its own one. You know, them out of con. This should be its own one.
Salutary. This is where, and Tim, is it?
Hang on, because you know we know what Tim is, but I say it with love.
Is it Schadenfreude, or is it that you think that there's something salutary about the pain that will lead to healing?
I know. I'm not about healing through pain. No, thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's partially Schadenfreude, partially just kind of like the solace in knowing that you were correct. The solace in knowing that we weren't leading people astray.
You know, there's the fact that they plug a lot of stuff. You know, they read out the ads directly. That's what makes me not feel guilty enough to not do it. So I'll do it because they deserve it. Because they just it's just everyone, you know. Even the agreeable ones, the Bulwark doesn't need to plug all the shit they plug, you know. So they get some. They get some out of context jumps.
To that, there's a little bit of joy in seeing other people's pain.
Yeah,
there will be some. You know,
it's kind of built into the contract, you know, when you swing your way, isn't it? I mean, it must be, right?
Real damage, unfortunately. That's not what I'm happy about. But just their failures is kind of giving me a little joy. No, is that wrong?
Well, I don't know.
I guess only if you're a bottom.
Lynch. Was he the one to decide? Was he the one who was complaining about cell phones? I think he might have been complaining about, like, if you watch a movie on your cell phone, that doesn't count. Or was that Scorsese? You're not just competing, like, even in movie theaters, you're competing with people opening their cell phones.
Yeah, but not all culprits are created equal.
Fierce.
And that is weird, you know, in the 2000s, a regular-sized TV wasn't big enough. It had to be a big screen. Everyone had to buy those pricey big screens. But then in the 2010s, we can watch the favorite films of all time. We'll watch them on our phones only. People are a weird bunch.
People's attention is insane.
Yeah, but you know,
the competition is fierce.
Yeah, and not all culprits are created equal. You know, some of us know how detrimental it is not to make noise on the daily. We know how detrimental that is. Others feel as if, you know, it takes a tragic thing in their life, you know, legal charges to make them just stop making noise on the daily for like a handful of days. Whereas there's others, we can only attain a peace if we don't make noise on the daily. If we make noise on the daily and upload or live stream or whatnot, we feel discombobulated. It's discombobulating, but it's what's necessary if you have to make noise in order so that the channel is buzzy. But like some of us don't care about that formula. Some of us say no to that formula. But others, you know, why haven't you said no to that formula yet? You recognize that
theaters,
you know,
even in movie theaters,
yeah,
you're competing with people opening their cell phones. The competition is fierce.
Yeah, but you add to the competition by uploading hours on the daily. Just take a hit in the views. It's like you only stop.
Like Suits, which was
you only stop when you're charged with stuff. Then you take a few days off.
That became like the most watched show on Netflix.
But
and it's
yeah,
like
people who do the right thing, it just, there's just month after month. People haven't figured out that, you know, the few who don't make noise on the daily or even on the weekly, in my case, you know, it's detrimental because then the thing we do upload is like super duper long.
To me, back in 2013.
But I'd rather have it that way than these little snippets on the daily. You know, it's just, you gotta... there's no cave. You can't have a cave if you upload on the daily, and it's only within your cave that you can think.
For eyeballs of someone watching Suits. In every single moment that you are trying to get someone's attention now, the totality of human content is the library of your competition.
So don't play.
That is
produce less, or just produce a lot but upload it rarely.
Anthony Weiner could do it, but he had his issues.
Does that resonate for you? It does resonate. I mean, yeah, if you've ever talked to people in reality television, like they selected for people with very flawed personalities, borderline personality disorder, narcissism, because that produced conflict, and conflict produced drama, and drama is, conflict is what keeps attention, and those people like attention.
Like, they're talking about streams, right? What do they select for? Narcissists, BPD? This is Lava Mr. Girl right here.
Disorder, narcissism, because that produced conflict, and conflict produced drama, and drama is, conflict is what keeps attention, and those people like attention. Not all of them, but the ones they like.
So this is something that I stumbled into as a streamer.
And
by stumbled into it, I mean
the daily.
I'm a genius, and I figured all of this out.
The noise making.
But one of the things I noticed that helps people move through controversy or remain relevant, one of the nice things that streamers have as an advantage is that when you're live a lot and you're streaming a lot, you're always part of like this ever-evolving cultural movement. Your thumbprint is constantly being renewed on a particular thing, and it's harder to replace you or move you out of that picture.
But that just is, the self-evolving competition.
As long as you continue to make content.
The frog in the boiling water.
We have the easiest content.
Yeah, you haven't noticed it yet. You're about to jump out.
Go live and just talk.
No.
Right? Continue to make content. As a streamer, we have the easiest content making jobs because we just go live and just talk, right? As opposed to a more like a video essayist or a writer, an author, or a filmmaker.
Or a ranter.
And that
there's no ranters anymore. There's just video essayists and streamers.
Really? And just talk, right? As opposed to a more like a video essayist or a writer, an author, or a filmmaker. And that just because of
ranter satirists need not apply, huh? Is that how it's going to be?
Donald Trump's, he's just like the perfect storm of attention whore.
Ranter
willingness to use social media.
satirists need not apply. Okay, memo received.
Yeah, and being like part of a retarded political movement that sloganizes so well, I feel like one of Donald Trump's most important assets.
You got caught with your pants down.
Yeah, and while you're consuming Trump's tweets or like my stream, right, you're not consuming other people's tweets or other people's media, so you get more and more indoctrinated. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess he does realize he's at fault. Maybe.
Well, we're going to use this. We're just going to use it against the right people. They're removing... and I'm not trying to say, by the way, that like, well, we should be cruel. Maybe. I'm just saying you have to understand that that is a powerful weapon. There's a reason why people opt to use it.
Man, look at it go.
Have you ever seen the Young Turks videos of them sharing the leaked Vanessa Hudgens leaks in 2007, 2009? No. Bro, we were a different... Oh my god. The Reddit... The Creepshow subreddit... There was a literal subreddit called Jailbait. And then there was the whole Apple... the iCloud hack? Society's moved at a crazy rate.
World moves along.
Wild is wild, and cool is cool. Wild is wild.
No, it's better. Fools for faction. For faction!
They don't care.
Yeah. long as it flatters the faction. No, but come on, do the chorus again. Do the chorus. Yeah, the whole song's good though. Fools for faction. So many fools for faction. They think they're cool. For faction. For faction. And for action too. You need to be the man of inaction. But here you're a fool for faction. Again, as with the last one, the whole thing is good. The whole thing is awesome. Fools for faction. We are fools. Fools for faction. It's mump. It's mump power. Hey, wonder what's this here? Let's check it out. Oh, how to be subversive. How to be subversive against the primitive peoples. How to be subversive, but also, hang on, shut up. Yeah, but it's also a song about nationalism. But also it's food for faction. If they go through with it, we're all gonna be food for faction. We're gonna be the cannon fodder in 2025. Fools for fraudster and food for fraudster. As long as it flatters the faction. Scheming. Still scheming. Oh, he's gonna.
Any info or statements today?
He's gonna do it.
For more people to roll on, so I don't have to
He's
repeat
gonna
myself
do
50
it.
billion times.
And I'm gonna have plenty to
Can you
say
go all
about
the way?
it.
Are you still limited? Well, I'm significantly less limited now, but I have to. I mean, I fired off I wrote up a huge thing over the past few days, which I wonder if that's what motivated them to file so quickly.
You know what? To be continued. How's
Representing my
that?
side of things.
To be continued. There's too much going on in the world for me to really devote that much time to Destiny. There will be plenty to say about what he says here, but it's going to have to be a to be continued. Because unlike you, I don't upload a gajillion hours a day, damn it.
But now that everything's filed, now I have way more. That I clarify to the best of my ability everything on my end, but as a result of those clarifications, I destroy her character.
Maybe to be continued in the next video, because it's very spicy.
And then let's say that the tides turn, and let's say overwhelmingly, or
As in, not to be continued right now, to be continued for the next video, except this right now.
say the majority of people are like, yeah, okay, I think Steven's position was a lot more fair here than what was being represented, and then she kills herself. Well, now I'm still, because now I'm like, okay, well.
You didn't blurt out the word kill. How come you blurt out fuck sometimes, you don't blurt out kill? You don't even blurt out fuck consistently. You're weird.
Right, yeah, okay, well, I'm not gonna say much about that. Now I'm completely fucked, right? So I'm like as soon as people start like threatening suicide, now I'm like I'm boxed in like in every single fucking area.
Why not vet the people you associate with better so you don't associate with any such people to begin with?
I don't know how many of these are public. I've got screenshots of everything. Obviously, we'll see how much I can talk about, but like Andrea's literally having conversations where she's literally saying, depending on Steven's response for this, I'll decide like if I have to go nuclear or not. But don't worry, like I won't kill myself over the holidays because I don't want to make people's like holidays feel bad. And it's like, holy fucking like, well, what the fuck? And then when the demand is $500,000 to $1 million, it's like, wait, what the fuck? And it's getting higher like every single time she talks to somebody. I'm like, wait.
Justice is monetary.
Excuse me?
Justice itself, if anything, is proven by the modernity, is that justice itself is monetary.
This is because
neoliberal standard of justice.
It's just like, isn't this extortion? I'm not going to say that because that would be a crime, and I'm still going to look at my lawyer on that.
It's sextortion to extortion.
But if you read the elements of it, it gets pretty close to it. And by close to it,
guilty or innocent, he maintains innocent. He said he's the victim in all this. You know, I'll just fess right now. I don't care what's true at the bottom of it. I just know that this whole theme gives me a bunch of reasons to utter sentences with the word pelvis in it.
I mean,
yeah. He'll never stop scheming, though he endeavors to.
Okay through all of this? No, I'm not okay. Okay, I don't feel okay. the amount of insane people who have contacted me, who have other people who tried to extort me on things. I had some woman DM me, and she's like, we sexted a long time ago. Like, if you don't give me $5,000, I'm gonna contact the Daily Wire.
Why even sext? Hey, Destiny, why even sext? Listen to that. The timeline is wrong. The timeline is incomplete. Can you believe it? The laziness. Maybe Trump will, and maybe Trump won't. I've only figured out half the chorus for this one. I'll figure out a second half. But yeah, isn't that good? Isn't that timely? Come on. Come on. Come on. Almost. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Maybe Trump will, and maybe Trump won't.
For bringing something to court and throwing your case because you're trying to get them for a harsher crime than what they're actually guilty for. I think there's a term called, it's called vexatious litigation.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
That's what I need to file against MAGA. I need to file vexatious. Because I'm vexed by MAGA? No? No one? Nah, no one knows. That's okay. It's okay. It's about
Destiny. Do I like and it's not cooking for you anymore?
It's not about me, it's about Destiny. But hang on, he gets to something else.
I will say, there's like 40% call me naive, 60% agree.
He's learned from streaming for so many years. He's learned how to burp inwardly and have it be like almost noticeable. Did you catch that?
Naive, 60% agree.
Yeah,
I think that
I either burp half-heartedly or I burp full-blown and I keep it in, as people will see with the upcoming videos. You know, I start burping a lot.
I think Erin was just trying to do the best by Pixie. For some reason, she's just like hopelessly friends with President Sunday and trust him. I don't know why. I feel like it's more stupidity than characters. I still haven't seen anything to the contrary of that. But
characters, I don't know.
Do you think the opening up of your side will bring back some of the orbiters who jump ship or our bridges burned for good? Assuming my career survives and I was retired from a video game player. One thing that I learned through all of this that is, this is good advice for anybody. The problem is I changed my lifestyle so much over the last, or like about a year and a half ago, so I don't,
Not enough.
My goal.
Or you change it for the worst.
Well, is, you've heard the saying, like you are who you hang around or whatever.
There
or I guess the modern day, the Zimmer version of that, the red pill version is your net worth is your network or whatever. I guess it was just kind of happening organically, but I don't think it's enough to cut out people's, I don't think it's enough to cut out negative people from your life. I think you have to cut out everybody that's peripheral to those people as well. I could have done it more aggressively. I'll definitely be doing it going forward, but I've also done it, it was kind of already happening organically anyway because I wasn't hanging out with a lot of people. So.
But aren't you like in the beggars can't be choosers category now, right? Because a lot of people don't want anything to do with you because they trust the chick. You know, even I, in the last video, when I first portrayed it, even I, you know, like I trust the chick. Because you said you'll take down everyone with you, right? So if you say you'll take down everyone with you, then like, how can I not, like, even I will trust the chick. Pixie.
It's really important to not keep around, because stuff started to connect in the background of this in terms of different types of people where I'm like, how the fuck, you know, you guys are like, I don't know, they're like scheming with each other. I'm like, the fuck? But
yeah,
it is what it is.
You know, even after you cultivate a huge audience, you still can't help but go around and sniff. It's just, you know, I like people who haven't cultivated a huge audience, like it's half excusable that they would go around sniffing for, you know, networks so they can get the big audience. But like you, even after you got your big audience, you kept sniffing around for networks and other stuff. All right, well, now to be continued. But yeah, I kind of like, you know, this theme. You know, there's every video has the A plot, and then Destiny's the B plot. It's like a Simpsons episode. Destiny's the B plot of every episode, and sometimes the plots intertwine. But I guess not here. Fools for faction.
To be fair, you haven't put on a sorry tone to be throughout any of this, like, you genuinely feel bad for what you did, right? I'll talk more about this tomorrow. The biggest issue with people who are saying, like, you have to have an apologetic tone or whatever. They want me to be apologetic for being, like, a sexual rapist, groomer,
and groiper.
person.
And groiper. And groiper. And groiper. Say it.
What?
You did. He got it on with Fuentes. He did. He did. To be continued. Sorry. I can't keep duplicating my to be continued.
Watch any of it. I don't know any of it. I get DMs from people there. There are so many people there that, like I've said this a million times, but again, the insane amount of, like, psychoanalysis is insanely fucking cringe, especially when so much of it is
Yeah, but a broken clock is right twice a day, isn't it, bud? And I'm not really even psychoanalyzing you. I'm just kind of having fun.
Like conjecture.
I'm just turning you into a B-plot of every video.
Like,
wait, that's another thing. That's the problem when you just care about quantity. You just kind of, your videos just kind of end because they're live streams. You know, instead of having the fun, spaced out things end your video, or all the other things I do. But, you know, the audience is just too, whatever. The audience is too inept to see the quality ways of ending a video. He never pays the price for ending just videos abruptly like that. God, I hate YouTube a lot, but I really hate the YouTube viewers even more. I'm not making them pay a price for just ending things abruptly and without wit and stuff. Said nothing in this debate. They're giving him a hard time. They're giving him a hard time. But not for, you know, just abrupt endings and too much. And, you know, everyone should just understand, like, it's a privilege to upload something that's kind of, you know, video on the internet. You don't want to take it for granted by doing it too much. You want to do it rarely so that each one has something special about it. But none of these people, you know, just can't think that way. This is so pathetic. Sucks for you, but you are the biggest victim, seriously? Yeah. People seem to be emotionally wrapped up. Just like with, you know, the state of the politics as well. The state of the destiny being a bad coomer, as well as with the state of politics. Everyone's just so wrapped up in the, you know, particularities of the bad. But I'm like, well, how are we all presenting ourselves? That's kind of what I'm all about. How are we all presenting ourselves? Are we ending our videos abruptly? Are there, you know, witticisms here and there? No, it's all about the issues themselves. It's okay. I'm a throwback. I'm a satirist throwback. And I guess I'm the only one left. A world of 8 billion people, and I'm the only one who cares about, you know, how are we presenting this? You know, whatever. If you're, like, you know, sprinting for your life or something, then okay, who cares about how you're presenting? But, you know, if you're not literally, like, sprinting for your life, yes, even if there's a lot of bad stuff still, you know, don't end your videos abruptly. You know, always try for a punchline. But I guess I'll just end this abruptly now.
To heal.
I know. I'm not about healing through pain. No, thank you for.
I think that
this should be its own one. You know, them out of con. This should be its own one. Hang on, because you know we know what Tim is, but I say it with love. My malady is me. Yeah.